2021 was the first World Cup where people actually understood T20 cricket. They even changed the name of it to a World Cup, after all of those years of calling it that, when it actually wasn't that. Meaning that England had won a World Cup, and we didn't even know it. So this was their second T20 World Cup victory, but their first actual T20 World Cup. Australia also waited until it was called a World Cup to win it, therefore winning all major ICC white ball trophies in both men's and women's cricket. Remember, for this series, we are looking for the MVP caliber years. We are using true values, which are a contextual number based on the ground, match situation, and match innings, so we can well and truly nerd out on the player who played MVP-worthy seasons in previous T20 World Cups. If you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months, plus gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a blocker protects the stumps with NordVPN today. So let's get to the first ever T20 World Cup, and not World T20. That's 2021. And we have a clear outlier here. Jos Buttler was clearly the best batter in this season. He scored 269 runs with a true average of 68 and a true strike rate of 40. He possibly had one of the greatest batting performances ever. But again, if we have to nitpick, and we do have to nitpick when we're looking between other MVP seasons, he scored 29 from 24 in the semi-final against New Zealand, and the Kiwis were able to chase it down. On the true strike rate extreme, we have KL Rahul, which is amusing when you think about how much hate he gets for being slow. Although, of course, we do have to mention he didn't score runs against New Zealand and Pakistan, and he made 3 quick 50s against Afghanistan, Namibia, and Scotland. But we also made a video about how that doesn't mean that he just always, for his entire career, only makes runs against terrible teams. This was just one time when that happened. But still, he actually did score quickly, which is something. In this cluster near him, we have Warner and Asalanka. Warner was the second highest run scorer in this tournament. He made 289 runs with a true average of 24 and a true strike rate of 38. Fantastic numbers for him, especially considering there were some questions about it. But let's talk about Asalanka. He probably didn't get enough credit for how good he was in this World Cup. He scored 231 runs with a true average of 24 and a true strike rate of 35. Very close to Warner in terms of the true values. But we do need to remember that Warner made pretty important runs in the semi-final and final. And let's leave the true strike rate for a minute and talk about true average, because Mohammad Rizwan does very well here. A fact that obviously will surprise very few people. He had a true average of 48 and a true strike rate of 16. And the scoring fast is the thing that should be a surprise, because we don't associate him with being a quick scorer. But remember that World Cups in general are turgid and slow. So Rizwan might be a slow anchor in regular T20 cricket, but in World Cups he's probably more on par, or in some cases even above par. But in the semi-final he faced 52 balls to score 67 runs. Near him we see names that we expect to see: Rassi van der Dussen, Babar Azam and Max O'Dowd. And let's talk about Bubba for a moment. He's the leading run scorer in that tournament, 303 with a true average of 35 and a true strike rate of 12. Like Rizwan, his strike rate issues aren't as prevalent in World Cups because of the slow scoring rate. But his innings against Australia, where he made 39 of 34 in the semi-final, showed us the flaw in playing that sort of catch-up method. Max O'Dowd had a brilliant campaign with a true average of 39 and a true strike rate of 8. The Netherlands didn't manage to make it to the Super 12s, but he was still brilliant. When we get to the bowlers, there's a few outliers here. This was a World Cup largely dominated by spinners, but we still see some quicks doing well. Nortje and Bumrah had incredibly economical seasons. The South African took 8 wickets with a true economy of 2.56 and true wickets of 0.29. And Bumrah took 7 wickets with a true economy of 2.63 and again with a plus true wickets. Shakib Al Hassan had a fantastic bowling season. He took 11 with a true economy of 1.82 and also true wickets of 1.17. Near him we see Pretorius, Zampa and Hasaranga. These pitches in the UAE really suited Pretorius, who had a back-of-the-hand slower ball at that stage, which he couldn't always control, but no one seemed to be able to play either. He took 9 wickets at a true economy of 1.81 and true wickets of 1. Right near him is Zampa, who took 13 wickets with a true economy of 1.08 and true wickets of 1.05. He was the joint second highest wicket taker and was instrumental in Australia winning that tournament. And in the cluster near him, we have a bunch of bowlers who are mostly spinners. However, I'm going to talk about Liam Livingstone, who's on the same tier here as Rashid, Jadeja and Shamsi. He took 6 wickets with a true economy of 1.6 and true wickets of 0.66. He might have been the only good thing for England in this tournament, as they had so many injuries they just stumbled into the finals. But let's talk about the leading wicket taker, Hasaranga. 16 wickets with a true economy of 2.04 and true wickets of 0.92. It was an exceptional World Cup for him. And the reason we're talking about him last is that he is also our MVP for this edition. Because on top of being an elite bowler, he also scored 119 runs with a true average just below par and a true strike rate of 34. He nearly had another one of our superfectors. This season doesn't get the hype it deserves because people look at the teams he played and assumed he only did well versus the weak teams. That was not the case. There was one game against Bangladesh where he took none for 29 in 3 overs. Other than that, he took a wicket in every one of his game and didn't go for more than 6 runs and over. His batting was not as impressive, but it doesn't need to be. All it needed to be was a slight plus, and he certainly had that. In 2022, Virat Kohli and Vin Allen are the 2 biggest outliers. Allen started the tournament by smashing the ball everywhere against Australia. And when you think of Kohli in that T20 World Cup, you probably remember him for what he did at the MCG. Yes, that 6. But throughout the tournament, he had elite wicket preservation skills, and he finished as the top run scorer. But his 50 against England in the semi-final was not ideal. Hilariously, in a previous video where we gave him 2 MVP awards and we said that his strike rate was not always ideal, people were still upset. How many more MVP awards does he need? Butler and Hales obviously would knock that target off comfortably, and they have very high true strike rates and were also amongst the top run getters. And then we have Sky, who was a massive outlier, on true average of 43 and a true strike rate of 67. His innings against South Africa in Perth came when none of the other Indian batters could stay in the middle. And it's not talked about enough, because obviously India went on to lose that match. De Kock, Russo, Shadab had high true strike rate seasons, going at over 0.5 runs per ball, more than expected. However, the 2 South African batters did not actually score a lot of runs against India, Pakistan and Netherlands in their group. But Shadab's innings against South Africa was the start of something special for Pakistan, who reached the finals despite losing their first 2 matches. Kusal Mendes had a high strike rate at well above par true average, but his performances in the Super 12, except for the 68 against England, were pretty much underwhelming. Glenn Phillips had an even better season. His century against Sri Lanka from 7 for 2 and then 15 for 3 was followed by a brilliant 62 against England. And the duo of Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis for Australia scored quickly, despite the team not actually reaching the semi-finals at home. David Miller and Brandon King scored at par strike rates without really ever being dismissed. But then, onto the bowling. And Anrit Nortje was a cut above the rest here. I actually think now, because he's had a bad couple of IPL seasons, people have forgotten that he was just absolutely brilliant. When fully fit, no one bowls like Anrit Nortje. And he was number 1 on true economy and true wickets per 4 overs. He conceded 1.26 runs per over less than expected and took 2.27 wickets more per 4 over spell. He was a standout performer in what was another disappointing campaign for South Africa. Sam Curran bowled pretty well in the power play, but he was one of the best death bowlers in the tournament. A bit like Anrit Nortje, that has not happened since. He had a true economy of 0.86 and true wickets of 1.56 per overs. Tim Southee was another seamer with a great run. He had the 3rd best true economy of any bowler in the tournament, while taking 0.41 wickets more. Baz the leader was only behind Nortje, Wood and Curran as far as true wickets are concerned. What a great effort from the young all-rounder. Wood was slightly more expensive than par, but he almost took an extra wicket per spell. But it wasn't just about pace. Sikandar Raza, Mitchell Santner, Shadab Khan and Hasaranga all had great campaigns in terms of wicket taking and run preservation. It's incredible that we have an off spinner, a left arm finger spinner and 2 wrist spinners here. So when it actually comes down to the MVP, there are a few players that have a great case here. Sam Curran, Shadab Khan, Sikandar Raza and Anrit Nortje. It's not like some of the other years when there was a really obvious one, and also, it's not like some of the other years when there was a huge star to pick from. Curran was picked as the ICC's player of the tournament, which I didn't think was right at the time, and even though I've seen his numbers here, I still don't. But I do think going through them now it makes a little bit more sense. And as I said, there wasn't really a clear-cut winner, and his team's won, so quite often that's where the trophy goes. But Nortje took loads of wickets, and no one could hit him, and Sikandar Raza was a plus player on all 4 of our metrics, but was probably just shy of being the best player, because we're going to go with Shadab Khan as our MVP. Like Raza, he also completed the superfecta. A true average with the bat of 8, but a true strike rate of 50. And then with the ball, he was 0.69 runs and over better, and almost 1 wicket better per spell. And it's incredible to think that not that long ago, he was that level of star, and now he's kind of struggling to hold his place, or at least bowl regularly in that side. But that is it for our T20 World Cup MVP series. Like, subscribe, or spam your uncle's WhatsApp groups about us until he kicks you out. If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.